Tonight, the Women's KISS Super League is live from the cycling heartland. That is Flanders. Yes, we're here in the home of the Cobbled Classics, where tonight we'll crown the first ever winning rider and team in this exciting new race format.
Up and out of the saddle now. Can she make it happen? I'm not sure it's going to happen for Harrison. It's going to be Show Air on the front. It comes to the final kilometer now. There it is. Aero power up being dropped. It looks like Simone taking this down with ease as she throws down that power up and comes across the line. First place quickly coming down, but Hubach, I would watch out for Hubach though as well. Diana will have to make this an early sprint.
Back in contact with the American, who goes again. Hubach now being dropped. Big acceleration by Tiger on the road, swings to the left. Then this is why this woman is a multiple world champion. She takes the win in round 4, the Women's KISS Super League.
Welcome to the Tour of Flanders Museum here in Oudenaarde, a place, of course, absolutely steeped in cycling history. And the latest addition to that is e-racing. Now, we've had 6 different winners across 7 rounds of racing so far. And appropriately, for a place surrounded by cobbles, well, it's fair to say that winning this league has been anything but a smooth ride. Now, Nicola Kramer, the General Manager of Show Air 2020, joins me now. Thank you for joining me now, because I know nerves are probably quite high. How's everybody feeling, yourself included, tonight?
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting. I think the athletes get more nervous doing this kind of racing than they do outside racing. The intensity's so high, and with that legendary Zwift start, which is basically max power off the line, gets everybody's nerves up. So yeah, they're excited as well though.
Of course, and tell us more about that start, because you were giving me so much insight earlier as to getting that power on the start line. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, well, you know, when the girls first started racing, and that was the start of the KISS Zwift, or the Zwift KISS Super League, they were very inexperienced Zwift racers, and so they did their research on the internet and sort of went on some chat groups, but the start is key, and not a lot of people understand that, and basically, you're pushing probably about 15 seconds before up to your max power to roll into the start of a race. So it's really like a short track mountain bike race or the start of a cyclocross race. It's very different. It's not like a typical road race.
Let's talk a little bit about those team standings. We keep saying week after week how important they are. You're very firmly sat in second. How happy have you been with that?
We're disappointed that we're not in first, I have to say, because we love to win. We have a team full of, athletes that love to win. That's why we race bikes. But the Zwift All-Stars have been amazing, and it's really interesting to see the dedicated Zwift community athletes are doing so well. I mean, they just have a little more insight into how to race the esports racing than we do, but we're adopting quickly.
Yeah, and 320 points there for the Zwift All-Stars. I mean, they've been phenomenal.
Yeah, they have, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, this is a new world to me, and it's exciting, and I see this as nothing but pure opportunity, especially for women's cycling, for men's cycling as well, but it really complements our outdoor racing.
Nicola, for now, thank you. We'll be back with you very shortly, but I can see Matt Stevens out there on the floor with the riders. I think he's joined now by Leah Dixon.
Thank you very much indeed, Rebecca. I am indeed with Leah Dixon, the winner of the previous round. I'm just going to sidle on over. Important part of the warm-up. Leah, we had a bit of a chat before.
Yeah.
You're not a newbie to Belgium. You've been here before, but what's it like to be in the Flanders Museum about to participate in the final round of the series?
Yeah, I think it's just brilliant. It kind of just tops how great the league has been, really. It's great to be here for the last round.
And what about your form? You're one of the only riders to possibly win 2. If you win tonight, there's only 2 of you who've won 2 rounds. Obviously, going to be one of the favourites, but a very flat course. What do you think of your chances today?
So I think last week really suited me. I definitely prefer the climbing side of things. Seem to do well in that on Zwift. This week, I guess we'll have to see how it goes. I guess with it being the last one, everyone's going to be wanting a result. So hopefully just see what happens.
What have you enjoyed the most about this inaugural Women's KISS Super League? It really is a bit of a game changer, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just been absolutely brilliant for the sport. I think that the amount of, like views and things this has had has been brilliant. In terms of the sport, I think it's great for racing. It's been great to kind of get those racing in, those early season races. But then I think the kind of social community that it adds as well, I think, especially for women's racing, it's really added that platform.
Brilliant stuff. Well, very best of luck tonight. Back over to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Matt. Now, the guys are talking about Zwift being such a game changer. I mean, as a team, you've really embraced e-racing, haven't you?
Yes, when Charlie came to us in the beginning, I was a little bit skeptical because I just had no idea really what it was. I mean, I've been on Zwift and, some of the other athletes have been on Zwift, but, for our North American schedule, it really complements it very well, and it gives the team an opportunity actually to race in between outdoor races, and they're really there's a lot of good sort of team bonding that goes on because they're doing course recon together, they're talking about race strategy other than when they're at outdoor races, so it's really a bonus actually, yeah.
And tell us more about where the riders actually are in person, because they're not always together.
They're mostly not together during the esports races. They're largely based in the US and some in Canada, so they're all spread all over the country, and it's just a unique opportunity to build the teamwork aspect while at home in the comfort of their own homes. I mean, it's really unique.
It's so unique, and in that respect, how much learning has gone on as a team, do you think, throughout this inaugural league?
Well, we were fortunate enough to go to the Zwift headquarters in Long Beach for one of the races, and we grilled everybody there just for the inside tips. There's a lot of forums out there with insider tips, and it's been necessary actually because it's just very different. Obviously, you're still pedaling your bike, it's still human powered, but it's very different, lots of strategy.
It is. Raw power, but very much strategy, of course, as again we've said week on week. Now, tonight in the commentary box, we've got Nathan Guerra joined by Hannah Walker. For now, let's hand over to them to have a little look at what the course is going to throw up tonight.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And yeah, we are out on the Watopia reverse flat course for this final round of the Women's KISS Super League. This is going to be fairly tactical, about 2 spots out on course, and I think, and a little bit tactical in some flat sections too.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely very tactical, especially with it being reverse. The series actually started off first round with it being on the forward route. Now we're doing it on the reverse, so it depends how that will play out, but it's also going to be very, very fast. I know that the Strava segment for this is 12 minutes 35, so that's 48 kilometers per hour, and I think today we're going to see a fast race with a peloton and a bunch, so it's going to be very, very fast, and with no double draft on, could we actually see a breakaway?
Yeah, there might be a little bit more opportunity for that. Obviously, the SEs that we saw just a moment ago, the underground tunnel is going to be a little bit calmer spot. Then there's going to be a little bit of a kick into the final lap. That's probably where people are going to be looking for probably a bunch sprint, most likely, for the final lap out there today. We're going to head on over to the floor, though, for Matt with an interview with one of the Zwift Academy Dream Team riders.
Thank you very much indeed, Nathan. I'm here with Natalie Eklund, just warming up again, only minutes before the start. Now, we were having a chat earlier on. You've come from triathlon straight into Zwift racing. What do you make of it?
I just try to go all I can, the best I can, every race. It's really different from triathlon, but it's so fun.
I mean, you've been very consistent. You've had a best of, I think it's 4 times you've been in the top 10 already with the highest placing of 3rd. What do you think of this reverse Watopia course? Is it a course to suit you?
I think it's a course to suit me if it would be a breakaway. I'm not a sprinter, but we'll see.
And what about being in the Flanders Museum, one of the homes of cycling, a real kind of, you can feel the heritage, you can feel the history here.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I'm a bit nervous. This is my first Zwift live event. To be here, yeah, really fun.
What would you, I guess, would you advise people to come onto Zwift and give it a go? Because it really is, unless you've got to try it really, haven't you?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
She definitely agrees. You got to agree. You're racing on Zwift. Back to you, Rebecca. I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be a thriller tonight.
Thank you, Matt. Well, we'll certainly be looking forward to it very, very much down here. I am going to let you go and really focus in a moment. But what do you make of the course? Any predictions?
Well, I think it's going to be a sprinter's course, but or just a power rider's course. But having said that, it really is about using the Zwift technology and strategy. It's a little bit different than predicting an outside race. So, but I would say a sprinter.
And how unpredictable have you found it in terms of looking down that start list each week and then looking at the final result? Because it has been quite unpredictable, even when we thought this is bound to stay together.
Yeah, I think that just because you're powerful in the outside racing, it doesn't transfer exactly, because you have to have all the components together to make for a successful race. Drafting obviously is critical, and a lot of people don't know that are new to Zwift, but you can get a draft. And if you don't, then you're going to get dropped, and it's really harder to get back on. It's not like outside racing where you can just dig. It's actually much harder to try and get back into the pack. So there's a lot of factors involved in learning how to win a Zwift race.
And just very quickly and finally, the future of e-racing, what are you expecting?
Wow, big things. I think it's nothing but pure opportunity, and it's exciting to have this platform. I've been running teams for 15 years, and for me personally, it's just really boosted my energy around cycling, and the landscape of cycling is changing, and this is going to be a big part of it.
Nicola, once again, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to let you go and focus on that all-important race. But for now, let's hand over to the commentary box for all tonight's race action. Here's Nathan and Hannah.
Thanks a lot, Rebecca. And really cool to get an inside scoop a little bit from the riders that have been participating in this new league, this new esport, as well as a little bit of the management there and what they're thinking about what's happening now and how they're getting involved and kind of the opportunities that are coming for these riders and these teams.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic to get their view and what they think of the series, and also how serious they take it. They've got WhatsApp groups, these riders, they're planning what's going to happen en route on these courses, and thinking about their strategy of how they're going to win these races. And it's the final one tonight, so this is the final opportunity for a rider to take a victory.
Yeah, there's that idea that we keep talking about within the Zwift community, within the race community, and what we've been doing for broadcast for a long time. But now you start seeing a genre of cycling being recognized amongst these teams, amongst the managers, and like, oh, this is getting real now. And now it's going to get more real than a live final here, in Belgium right now. This is pretty amazing to see some shots here of the athletes live on site. Speaking of the athletes, favorites for tonight, obviously we've got the Zwift All-Stars on the top of the series, so now it's all about what can we do on a final race for the individual. There's also the reality there might be some points changing up for some of the teams for those second, third, and other spots out there. But Sprinters course, what are you thinking here, Hannah?
Yeah, it's a very hard one to actually predict, because some of the sprinters that we've seen in previous rounds, like Harriet Owen and Chloe Dygott, she's strong on all courses, but they aren't actually racing tonight. So it's very much open, but I can't quite see past Britt Mason, actually. She's already won 2 rounds in this series, so I think she could probably make it 3.
Yeah, Britt Mason, I think, is going to be definitely one to be watching out for the All-Stars as well. I wouldn't be watching out for Leah Dixon, who's on site here. Amazing result last week, and I think even surprising herself a little bit. She said before we were out here chatting for a little while, there might be a couple of upsets, though. We'll have to wait and see. Some of the riders getting a little bit more experience, perhaps in these last couple of weeks, might show up and throw down some serious power.
Yeah, definitely. People are gaining experience round upon round, and 27 seconds to go now. People, the riders are up in the power and getting ready for that start. It's 3 laps around Watopia flat reverse today, and it's 30.9 kilometers long. So roughly around 37 minutes to 40 minutes of racing.
Going to be super fast racing. Speaking of super fast racing, we can see that 5 seconds to go here, and we're going to see that usual ramp up of the power. Some of the athletes in house here starting to get up and out of the saddle. You see the right-hand side of the course, you'll see those orange numbers popping, quads locking now as they get out on course, and the heart rates are going to start rising here. We're looking at Sharon Bird here from the All-Stars on the right-hand side. Just for those of you who are maybe a little unfamiliar with what you're seeing on screen, you will see the athletes' names. The one that we have highlighted is going to be their power in the upper left-hand corner, as well as their heart rate and RPMs, total distance, time, as well as elevation completed, and current speed at the top of your screen right now. But as they head into their first lap there underneath the KISS banner, we are seeing the All-Stars up toward the front. They'll be heading to the Essies momentarily, and then going on over toward the first sprint competition. It's something we actually didn't talk about prior to the race start here. For that sprint competition, each lap for 3 laps, they're going to be battling it out immediately after the Essies.
Yeah, it's going to be actually quite hard. You go up that climb, and I think from a difference of what we've seen in other rounds, the sprint could be won today by the rider who's the strongest on the climbs on the Essies. So it might not necessarily be the out-and-out sprinter going for that. What it does mean, though, is because the sprint banner is so far from the finish, it gives sprinters time to rest and recover and get back for the final.
Yeah, so that does change things up a little bit in our prior competitions out on this course in the other direction. The sprint was right before the finish line. It broke things up a lot right before the finish line. We kind of had some smaller packs because of that. Might be a little bit different here on this course, and more of a pure sprinters course because of that separation of the competition for the sprint points being all the way on the other end of the course, and then obviously the finish line being after the Ocean Boulevard on the flat course here. So as we head into the Essies, though, it is going to be led out, it looks like, by Show Air, as well as Canyon Shram up toward the front end of that course. And it's going to be Leah Dixon, who is live on site here, sitting about third wheel there in that Zwift All-Stars kit. That is going to be the light blue, white, and orange kit that you're going to be able to recognize out there. Another one that we haven't talked about too much, being maybe more of a climber, Mary Wilkinson, but we have seen a kick from her. We did see her in the British Cycling E-Racing Championships take a second place in that competition, and it came down to a sprint where it looked like she could have almost taken that down, just didn't have the power up for it.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting. You kind of think of Mary as just a pure out-and-out climber, but it showed to us at the British Cycling National Champs that she does have that kick, she does have that power, and yeah, should she get the right power up today, she could go for a long one. She has that strength, and yeah, she could surprise everyone today, I think. Or, with the double draft not being on, she could attack and go for a long one.
It is going to be a little more difficult on the riders, actually, today without that double draft. Double draft is, or what some riders in the community call real draft. It's a little bit more like in real life, where the avatars get a lot more reprieve while they're sitting in on the wheel. So having regular draft on, or single draft, or whatever we might want to call it there, double draft being off here, they're going to have a much more difficult time resting in the pack, so it might be a harder race today. Surprisingly, though, the riders all together here as they're about to do the final little climb to the Essies. Things are going to ramp up here in just a second. This is that kick you were talking about, Hannah, that might separate and win the sprint competition rather than just the sprint section.
Yeah, it makes it quite hard. You just saw then on the camera angle that it does kick up quite hard. They're still climbing now, but everyone's still together. So you can just see here, Eklund is just pushing on the pace on the front of this peloton now. Someone already using their power power up on the left-hand side of your screen here. So interesting to see she's used it so early.
Yeah, a little bit early there, maybe just to hang on. We'll have to wait and see which rider that is. It's going to be Britt Mason, actually one of the favorites there. Britt Mason might be looking for this sprint, actually, with a little bit of a speed up over the top of that little bit of a climb. It was Eklund there looking to position herself well just a moment ago, as you can see. Maybe just making sure she's not going to drop off through the sprint section. A little bit of a gap's already opened up as they start to ramp up for the sprint competition. Eklund making her way forward now. Now it's going to be, it looks like a big little rider making her way to the front, though, now. Saikat there as well as Wong now to the front, but it's going to be HB Supermint actually now looking to just walk away with this with a solid 6.8 watts per kilogram. Now, that wasn't a full-on sprint, though. Interesting to see. I'm not sure if the riders were in full-on competition for that 183 beats per minute, though, but easy takedown there.
Yeah, definitely. It's worth noting that Zwift Academy winner from 2016, Leah Thorvilson, took second there, but definitely the rider from Hagen Berman, Supermint, took that very convincingly. But yeah, maybe the riders weren't aware that the sprint was coming so early, but you know, it is what it is, and you have to read the race manual beforehand. So everyone all back together now, and it's Leah Thorvilson leading this peloton.
Yeah, Leah Thorvaldsen here, the Zwift Academy winner from 2017, now making her way toward the front there. That is going to be the dark purple kit. We are seeing the sprint results here. It does look like Starla Pettigrew here did take it down for that 5 points. Leah Thorvaldsen was involved there. It looks like solid result there with the 3 points. Whitney Allison, and then will be Julie Leth, who's actually live on site here for Bigla. And that was a solid result for here.
Yeah, that's a brilliant result for her. It's the, I was speaking to her just before the race got underway, and she actually raced the Tour of Flanders just 2 days ago. So she was saying she had very tired legs, but it doesn't look that way to me. She's a very, very strong rider, and yeah, she's strong enough and fit enough to recover well for this event.
We are seeing Leah Dixon here now on site. Looks like she was just maybe making a little bit of adjustment there for a second for probably her towel there. It looked like with the live shots there, but did see her coming into this 5% gradient or so before they will take a right-hand turn onto Ocean Boulevard, a flat section of the course. As far as the course goes today, you're starting to get a feel for what they're going to be facing each lap. And we can see for the Zwift All-Stars, black belt in karate.
Wow.
Not sure she's going to be breaking any boards live on site at the moment here, but we'll see if she's going to be able to break the legs of the riders in the sprint, as she obviously did that last week with that almost an upset, I felt like, on the day. And she said she even surprised herself.
Yeah, I think it was a big surprise, but something that she's capable of. Like, we know she's strong on road racing and on Zwift racing. We saw her at the British Cycling Nationals. She was extremely strong on the climbs as well. So, but yeah, maybe a little bit of upset for Mary Wilkinson, who she pipped into second place, and she actually won with no power up. Very impressive.
Yeah, super impressive. Lots of power there. And she said she was surprised herself on the climb. Got one of her best maximum heart rates. I got her best maximum heart rate, maybe even 20-minute power on the day here. But things fairly all together. We have seen a couple of riders fall off the pace here early on as they did go through that sprint competition just a moment ago. Now at about 3.3 watts per kilogram, we do see things calming down though, as we do see Clevenger now from Show Air 2020 making her way to the front, taking over. Now for this course though, we were speaking a moment ago about what they're going to be seeing every lap. One of the things about this course is that this section is most likely going to be one of the calmer sections where everybody really tries to get a little bit more energy back into the system, really try and calm things down and reserve for that kick that's going to be out of Ocean Boulevard. It may be a calming moment for the pack. It could be a moment though as well, knowing that that's what people are going to be doing after the sprint, to try and sneak off the front perhaps, roll away, or even put in a solid attack where people aren't really that interested in doing so.
Yeah, I think you've got to have a solid game plan. If you're going to do that, you don't want to be wasting your energy. So there's only so many times you're going to be able to attack. And if you're kind of just attacking for the sake of it because people are just resting or going easy, you're actually, and you're not really going to get away because it's too far to the finish. You're not really benefiting yourself. But yeah, you see everyone's just riding together now, kind of sussing everyone out at the minute. You can see riders in-house here at the Ronde van Vlaanderen Museum. They're just taking bottles, taking a drink, and yeah, just keeping the powder dry, I think.
Yeah, I think looking at the live riders here, actually seeing who's calm, who looks like they're seriously working at this point, it's interesting to see the different expressions on the face. You get a little bit more of the live pack experience actually with the riders who are here in the environment themselves, all next to each other. So definitely a lot of focus in-house here at this point, a little bit of looking around and trying. You can see inside though right now for sure there is a calm before the storm in the riders at this point.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like, because you're in-house, you can see the riders' different styles. So, some riders have really high cadence, some are, sort of grinding that gear out a little bit. So it's very interesting to see how each rider rides differently and what works for them. Leah Dixon, absolutely solid on the bike. Doesn't even look like she's trying, actually.
Yeah, we do see she's looking fairly calm, keeping things reserved at this point. The All-Stars here up toward the front now. Show Air 2020 looks like with two riders making their way to the front in the dark blue kicks. It will be Wong there now taking over. Dixon now up and out of the saddle here in-house and 5.7 watts per kilogram. There's that little bit of a kick. On the right-hand side of the course, of the screen here, you will be able to see their current watts per kilogram. That's how many watts they're putting out currently, right now, divided by what they're weighing in-game. And that is extremely crucial number for whether or not you're going to win a race, Hannah.
Yeah, definitely. It's very, very important. And, all the riders are weighed pre-race. So, it's all, the weight is put into game, and then you can get a very accurate watts per kilogram for their power. And, it's all about the watts per kilogram.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's going to be moving those avatars forward at the speeds you are currently seeing. So that's part of the way that Zwift does calculate how this power is communicated into the avatars from real people in real life into the game currently in front of us right now. And now as they do enter into the underwater tunnel, we do see a power-up being thrown out here. This might be a section where a rider might want to try and get away. We'll have to wait and see if there's an attack here. But with that speed carried down after the descent, a lot of times people could roll off the front with that extra speed. Sitting in the pack, you kind of slingshot off the front sometimes. We're not seeing that at this moment, but maybe in a lap or two for a rider who might want to TT away. We do see Sharon Bird taking over to the front, though. Another drafting power-up being used. For those riders who are not, those viewers who are not familiar with the power-ups there, those are power-ups or abilities that you can collect every time you go under either a sprint banner, a KOM banner, or a lap or finish banner. And it does randomly select one of those power-ups. You're able to use them for an advantage in the game. The drafting power-up you're seeing, that is that truck right there being used by one of the Zwift Academy Dream Team riders, reduces the power you have to put out to draft on the riders that are in front of you for 30 seconds. The arrow power-up reduces the drag on your avatar, increases your speed greatly for 30 seconds, and then the feather power-up reduces your weight for 15 seconds for a climbing attack. Shayna Powell, now you're seeing here, 25 years of age, 2020. She is in-house right now. Loves horseback riding and once competed in, what was that at the end there? Dressage, I think it said it at the end there. But now we do see toward the front here, the All-Stars now starting to take over, and I think this is when things are going to start really heating up for the tactics, and I can already see some of the tension in-house even as they are predicting this little bit of climb in a moment.
Yeah, definitely. You can just see them all, grouping together, riding together. They're a solid unit, and they have been throughout the whole series. They'll have many tactics and things up their sleeve of how they're going to ride and what they're going to do on this course. You can just see Valkar Silence come to the fore now with the All-Stars.
Yeah, Valkar Silence here now comes to the front, it looks like, and on the back there now we are seeing a few of the riders here just looking to struggle a little bit maybe. Britt Mason, though, sitting in continually toward the back end of this pack, but that may be a situation where she is looking to reserve as much as she possibly can before the sprint at the finish. I have a feeling that most of the All-Stars are going to be looking to work for that rider and just deliver her to the finish line on this 3 laps of the flat course, mainly a sprinter's course. Now they're heading up into this little bit of a kicker now, out of the underwater tunnel, and they're going to be finishing up Ocean Boulevard. The riders in-house getting up and out of the saddles now. We are seeing 6.4 watts per kilogram, 284 watts from Paulus here, and the American rider here up and out of the saddle now, hammering away, 170 beats per minute as we see those heart rates rise. Now it's going to be about continuing to want to break away, but it looks like everybody's really waiting for a little bit of tiring of the peloton.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've still got, we're coming into 2 laps to go, so everyone's kind of waiting. Whether will they just wait for the last lap and kind of one or two riders try and slip off the front of the peloton and get away? It's going to be very, very interesting that not so many riders have got dropped. Maybe the pace isn't hard enough. You can just see there 43 kilometers per hour, and we're just watching our Zuffy now from Valkar Silence. 266 watts, so it looks like she's pressing on a bit. Could she be about to make an attack?
Yeah, we are seeing, it looks like on the front now, it is going to be Eklund there, and it's as our Zufi, though, now making the setup here. Valkar Silence now making her way to the front, 179 beats per minute, 377 watts. Right-hand turn here in just a moment as they're going to head into the lap banner. 2 more laps after that. And I have a feeling after this lap, we might start seeing some attacks. I think some of the ladies here will maybe start getting a little bit anxious and looking to try and make a move or two as they head into the second lap here, Hannah.
Yeah, definitely. You can just see a few riders kind of just losing the wheels a little bit at the back. Just shows that it's getting a little bit faster at the front of the peloton. You see a rider now from, looks like Bigler or Hagen Bermans, just kind of rolls off the front and it all comes back together. So, no riders want to let anyone get away on this course. It is flat and only with 1 or 2 kickers. So as we come now into that finishing straight.
Yeah, we are going to be starting the second lap out here for 3 laps on Watopia reverse, and as we are watching the riders come through the lap banner, they'll be looking for the next power-ups. It'll be interesting to see if we do see them throw down any power-ups looking for a new one. If they do not have the one they are looking for out on course, most likely the arrow power-up they'll be looking for. We're looking at Paulus here now, 171 beats per minute, and as we watch these riders start their second lap, we're going to go over to the forward of Matt Stevens to have a look at the riders.
Thank Thank you very much indeed, Nathan. I must agree, it's been a rather tactical opening lap. Remember, 3 laps, couple of little rises on this particular course, but still some reasonable power being going on at the front. But every time the road rises, we're seeing a little bit of aggression. A lot of riders got various power-ups. You see some feather power-ups, some aero power-ups as well. But will the riders save those for the sprint? It's very, very tactical so far. Although right now, as the road starts to rise, I can just see the power starting to kind of lift a little bit as riders manoeuvre. The bunches whittle down ever so slightly, but I think, Nathan and Hannah, this is going to be a very, very tactical one. Could come down to a sprint.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Matt. And it looks like as they will be coming into another sprint in just a second for the start of the second go at that competition. Already a few power-ups being thrown down here. And at this section of the course, that may mean that some of these riders are really suffering to hang on as this starts to go uphill again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it has been quite a high pace throughout the race, really. And they're maybe just using it to try and make this slight uphill a little bit easier. You know, they know they're coming into a hard section now. This is probably the hardest part of the course, and before they get into that sprint section. So maybe also they're just trying to use it before they get to the next sprint banner, and then they'll get a new one anyway. So maybe some smart riding here by some of the riders. You can just see the Valcar Silence rider just using his aero power up. Just moving up, you can see how much difference it makes to the rider, how fast they can move up throughout the bunch.
Yeah, interesting to see the use of that there, as I have a feeling that rider may be suffering a little bit because that section is not a sprint section, it's not the end of the race, and it definitely wasn't an attack, so most likely just looking to reserve as much energy as possible. Looking at Julie Leith here in the upper right-hand corner toward the front now of the pack now. The Danish rider looks like here solid effort so far, and we just saw like up into 300-400 watts momentarily there now. Now we are looking at the avatar though of Leah Dixon there, 3.2 watts per kilogram on the downhill. You can see those watts per kilogram and the watts kick up as they do feel those gradients in game. Using smart trainers, such a cool experience actually for those of you who have Zwifted out there, Hannah. But these riders are really feeling these gradients as they go through the Essies right here.
Yeah, the smart trainers actually reflect what the course is. So when they go uphill, the smart trainer gets harder, and it reflects as if you were going uphill in real life. So when you go downhill, it gets a little bit easier, and it's completely reflecting what you see on your screen right now. You see everyone getting out of the saddle now, just ready for that one of the last little kickers before the sprint.
Yeah, we are going to be uphill now. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see that 7% gradient there that they are experiencing from those smart trainers right now. And we do see the cadence is coming down in-house, actually, as they're starting to grind through that. A lot of shifting going on as they're starting to head into this sprint. Second time through for the sprint competition here, we do see it looks like Wilkinson off the front a little bit there momentarily as we have sprint number 2 coming up. Leah Dixon now starting to lead things out. She did this last lap, setting up for this section, and I think that's just a preemptive strike to make sure that she is not in a bad spot after the sprint.
Yeah, I was just about to say the All-Stars are really getting themselves ready in one line as a lead out, and it's very impressive. They've ridden so strongly throughout all the rounds. As you just see the Zwift Academy now, like they're going for it. Now we can see the aero power-ups and a feather power-up being used for this second sprint.
Yeah, Thorvaldsen looks like trying to take this down. She took second in the last sprint. It looks like she's going to walk away with this one with that aero power-up. And now it will be Tedder Green there, though, from HB Supermint, though, coming through in second place. Now, I think things are going to be all tied up between those riders. I'm not doing the math too quickly in my house. But now, one of the luckiest situations you could possibly see out on Zwift, a double aero power-up situation, actually. At least I believe that's what was there. I did not see the aero power-up continue through underneath the sprint banner. I wonder if she actually got one of the best situations you could see, but did not take advantage of it for an attack. Thorvaldsen there with the W on the win there on that sprint. They still have another one for the overall competition, though. Starla there, it looks like, coming through second. Erica Clevenger there, followed up by Natalie Eklund, who is also in-house here. Solid result there for the Zwift Academy Dream Team coming from Eklund now. As coming through this next section, Ludwig toward the front there from the Canyon Tram Team as they head through the Italian Village and past the Scotty the Squirrel Fountain. There will be another little kick before they take the right-hand turn onto Ocean Boulevard. We could see an attack through that section, otherwise things most likely going to calm down. But no, we're seeing aero power-up. Looks like the pace is really kicking up as there's so many powers being thrown down right now. I think this non-double draft is really starting to weigh on these riders in this final round, this race number 8. A lot of pride on the line here, and I have a feeling that these riders are doing everything they can to just hang in. Some of these riders, I think, are really just doing whatever they can to make sure they make it to that final sprint.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, it is very hard. It's, you know, we've had 8 solid rounds so far, and, you know, a few of these riders here racing tonight have either done the Joe Martin stage race over in the US, and some riders have done the Tour of Flanders. So tired legs, but, you know, it's the Zwift Academy teams and the All-Stars that really want to throw it down to the pro teams and, you know, really put the hurt on here.
Yeah, look at these riders here now, though. Serious effort. A lot of focus on the faces there. Natalie Eklund there on the left-hand side here, obviously looking fairly calm here now. The other riders, you know, looking like maybe working a little bit there. A little bit of bobbing and weaving here between them.
Yeah, you can just see on the right-hand side of the screen at the top, Hannah Ludwig from Canyon SRAM Racing just wiping the sweat away from her. She looks, suffering in a lot of pain, actually.
Yeah, definitely. It's so cool having the riders here on site there, and we're going to see if they are able to hang on here through this section of the course here. But obviously, the grimace there on the face there from the Van Eyck rider there, just really trying to hang on maybe at this point. And a little bit, taking on a little bit of water now, as you can see, obviously through this section of the course, much calmer section where the riders are going to be able to chill out and sit in amongst the pack now. So they will be able to lighten up on the pedals a little bit, grab a little bit of energy, and looks like we do have our Zufi here making her way to the front there, as we are seeing her live on site here now.
You can just see on the top corner, Hannah Ludwig just pour a bottle of water over her head, so it must be very hot riding here live from the Flanders Museum. It's like she's riding outdoors, just pouring the bottle over her head.
Yeah, I'd be doing exactly the same, actually. It is actually starting to get pretty hot in the entire arena here at this point. But Wilkinson here now, we're looking on the course, 159 beats per minute currently, 200 watts though, upper left-hand corner with 13.2 kilometers to go. The riders are traveling along at 50 kilometers per hour currently. Showair now making the way to the front of the pack now. Solid cadence there, as you can see, as they have calmed right on down through this section. All-Stars there with Britt Mason on the right, completely protected, surrounded by her team. Bird there looks like leading things out for her a little bit. They're taking over the pace and making sure that her rider is well protected. I believe Dixon and Britt Mason there sit in second wheel. You do see Britt Mason sit in third or fourth wheel at this point. They're always rolling to the front. The All-Stars, probably the most experienced riders amongst this peloton right now for Zwift Racing. That is how these riders are actually selected as far as the most successful amongst the communities where the Zwift All-Stars came from.
Yeah, definitely. And you can just see how experienced they are. They, you know, they're working so well as a team, working well as a unit, and they just know exactly where to be on each part of the course, and they're just getting it right every time, both the Zwift Academy Dream Team and the All-Stars. So it's going to be a bit of a fierce fight between Dixon and Mason today, with Mason already having 2 victories in this series, Leah Dixon with 1. She'll definitely want to equal that tally, with Mason being the rider, the female with the most wins so far in this series.
Yeah, pure sprinter there with Britt Mason. We are looking at some of the stats in the background here. We are looking at the lowest amongst them is going to be Britt Mason amongst the All-Stars at this point, with a solid 3.9 watts per kilogram to hang in on this pack right now. It is up in about 4.2, 4.3, but a lot of times, so as far as that is kind of the effort, it's a representation of the effort that the riders have put out so far for the race. Their average power in watts per kilogram tells you that you can compare it. And actually, usually there's a pretty big difference between the rider that's put out the most work and done the most work for the pack, because you do have to take on the headwind if you are at the front of the pack and put more work in, or if you're not drafting well, you end up putting more work in than the other riders. There's not that much of a difference between them today, which tells us they are definitely holding hands a little bit, watching each other, knowing that this is more of a sprinter's course.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just like in real life racing, you know, if you're going to be riding out of the wheel, you're going to be taking on all that wind, all the headwind, and, you know, essentially wasting more energy. We can just see now it's Slavin from and Teddy Green from Hagen Berman Supermint up towards the front, and the 2 Valcar Silence riders just losing touch there at the back of the peloton.
Yeah, interesting to see. We'll have to see if they can jump back onto the pace there. There's a 6-second gap between some of the riders here now at this point. So it is going to be a Showair 2020 rider, I believe, that's off the back as well. So we'll have to see if they can get back on terms with this. At the highest output, though, for the riders done the most work for some of the teams here, it is going to be Leah Dixon as well as Sharon Bird for the All-Stars. Perhaps they're out there as a little bit of workhorses for their teammates amongst the riders, though, it is going to be Amanda Corker as well from Showwear 2020, and then Melanie Wong there from Showwear 2020, putting out a solid 4.4, 4.3 watts per kilogram so far, and that's going to be a solid half a watt per kilogram in those who have been sitting in and resting. So definitely being the workhorses that are out there on course right now, but no serious attacks, is really saving it up for the sprinted sections. This is going to be the calmer section of the course, but I have a feeling in just a moment we're going to start feeling the energy rise here in-house in just a moment as they do head into the uphill gradient out of the underwater tunnel here in a second. And then the final lap is where things are really going to heat up, though. Through this section of the course, get familiar with this, because the riders are going to be anticipating a drag race to the finish line, because that little gradient out of this underwater tunnel, it is really close. It's within about a half a kilometer or so to the finish line. Because of that, if a rider attacks through there, they can essentially get a gap and just walk away from the pack, because the pack might just start looking at each other and wait for the sprint. But if they wait too long and don't close the gap, the rider just is gone.
Yeah, and essentially it always will come down to what power up the rider has. If they can make that attack out of the underwater section and use a power up, so an aero, perfect. They'll get such a good time gap to the peloton. And if the riders all start looking at each other and not wanting to take it up, and who's going to chase the leader, then the rider could win solo here. Just see WNT Rotors Laura Senthio here live from the museum, looking quite calm actually.
Yeah, Cincio is looking very calm here. Very high cadence there. It looks like she's looking to reserve as much energy as she can with that high cadence at this point. You can see that, the live on site here definitely causes a lot of heat in-house there. The riders, a lot of times at the LAN events, at the live events, do say, okay, how can we cool off as best we possibly can? I have a feeling we'll see some more water bottles poured over people's heads here before the end of the race now. Making the way toward this one of the critical sections, crucial sections of the course. Aero power is now starting to be thrown down toward the front there. It is going to be Showwear 2020 taking over to the front there. Les now making her way to the front here, who is in-house as well. It is going to be Amanda Corker there, followed up by, it looks like, Colin there as well from the Zwift Academy Dream Team in the purple kit on the right-hand side of your screen. All-Stars now making the way to the front as well, but no, Showwear here with Paulus, who's also live on site here, now taking over the brunt of the work at the front of the peloton. All-Stars now back to the front with Leah Dixon here. Leah looking fairly calm, though, wide-eyed for a second here, wiping a little sweat from her face, I can see here live now, but not looking like she's under any pressure at all. Some of the other riders here a little bit more intense on their screens here, but now an aero power up being thrown down by Wong here. Is this an attack? You're seeing a couple of riders are off the back. It looks like it will be a gap back to Persico there from Valkar Silence, though, and now also at the back, Britt Mason, though, hanging in, and looks like she's able to grab a wheel, not going anywhere. So now toward the front, it is going to be the Dream Team, All-Stars, community teams, so strong, showing experience on Zwift is key.
It's just incredible, isn't it? They're just in the right place at the right time, and they just get all of their teammates together. You can just see the All-Stars now. They're riding in a formation of a lead out, and I think it's just incredible to see how experienced these riders are and how amazing it is to see these amateur riders being able to ride with the pros and actually showing them how it's done. It's actually incredible that they can really dominate.
This new genre of racing, you do have a tactic, you do have a skill that does come along with being familiar with the feel of Zwift, with how you ride on Zwift, knowing the sections of the course here. Now, the interesting thing I think here, heading into the final lap, is how I think the riders just really want to win today, and because of that, they haven't been taking a whole lot of risks. There's just a reality that they're like, this is a flat course. If anybody goes, we're going to cover the moves, but I mean, this is kind of textbook racing when it comes to a sprinter's course.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and they will have spoken to each other beforehand. They know the course. These experienced Zwifters, they know every inch of the course, and it's just incredible the approach that they take. But I think it does change the way the race is raced on a flat course like this, because everyone's waiting for the sprint, everyone's wanting to lead out their sprinter and to help them. So it does change things, but with it being quite, a calm race so far, will we just see one all-out, flat-out attack?
Yeah, we might see some sort of fireworks play out here in just a moment here now, but now toward the front end of the pack here, this is the setup before they head into the SEs for the final time here. Now, there is a sprint section that might also be why we've seen such, an explosion of power and then calm right on down, and then another little bit of a kick as they head into the lap each time, because there are these spread out competitions out on course, but as they do head into the SEs, these punchers here in just a moment with 7.6 kilometers to go onto the final lap here. We're heading to the final sprint for the sprint competition in just a moment. Slavin now toward the front now. It looks like Paulus now making their way to the front. All Stars now taking over. You did see all the riders starting to fight for position as we hit this uphill grade into the little the little cave tunnel heading into the SEs now. Eklund now, who's live on site, making her way to the front here, looking very calm though. Dixon looking very calm as well. Ludwig there from Canyon SRAM here as well toward the front. And before we head into the third sprint competition for the day, let's head on to the mat over on the floor for some more live shots.
Thank you very much indeed, Nathan. Things are really starting to hop by now. Just looking at the faces of the girls here at the Tour of Flanders in Oudenaarde. This race is really starting to ratchet up. No big attacks, but the speed getting higher and higher and higher. Just look at the faces of some of these riders now. The pain really starting to tell. Although this is a very tactical affair, it's also a very, very difficult one indeed. I'm expecting this, hedging my bets, to be a big bunch sprint. It's going to be fascinating. Back to you, Nathan, for the finale.
Thank you, Matt. And you see the live shots there on site there. The riders really focused at this point. There's a calm before the storm for sure in the house here. They are working definitely. We see a lot of sweat and actually up and out of the saddle and some grimaces here now it looks like on site. Valkar Silence here with his roofie now really starting to give a little bit of a kick here to hang on before this final sprint in just a second. But the community teams here with Dixon and Eklund, I'm looking to my left here, they look very calm, very focused, and just hanging on toward the front end of this pack now, as you do see Eklund almost leading things out, making sure that she's in the right position before this last sprint. And I think they're really going to be looking, speaking of being in the right place at the right time here, this could be make it or break it in the sprint section right here.
Yeah, definitely. They've got to make sure that they're in that front group, especially in the front 5 riders after this sprint, because this is, probably the one section you don't want anyone to get away, and if you can't bring them back before the finish line, then it's kind of game over. And especially because it's so hard, you have the SEs here, and then the sprint, heart rate's going to be high. There's going to be some tired legs now as we come to the end of this final race. Last little kicker now up the SEs before the sprint, and everyone's just kind of getting into position. You can see the power being put down and riders coming to the fore, and again it's the All-Stars and the Academy Dream Team.
Yeah, Academy Dream Team in the purple kits there making their way to the front will be the All-Stars now starting to take over the pace here. A couple of riders starting to fall off. Saikot here needs to hang on. Wilkinson there a little bit out of position as the gap does open up. We'll have to wait and see if that does put her in a little bit of pressure here toward the front. Now we are seeing it looks like HB Superman with a power up there. We'll see if she can take the W here, the win in the sprint competition. She took one of the sprints in the first lap. Then it was going to be Thorvaldsen on the second lap. Will she be able to take it down? She's got a lot of luck there with that arrow power up, but does she have the power though to capitalize on that luck? We'll see if she can hold on to the line. 190 beats per minute, 400 watts from Tedder Green. Looks like she was able to nip it by a bike length or so, and that will most likely get her the win in that competition.
That was very, very, very impressive from both Tedder Green and Thorvaldsen then. We just saw numbers from Thorvaldsen then, 9.3 watts per kilo.
Dixon now with a little bit of attack there, countering the sprint. Will she dig through here? I don't know. We'll have to see. With Britt Mason being the sprinter that she is, this could be a moment to just ride right off the front here. Koger here now trying to shut it down there from Shower. We are seeing the sprint results as this attack is out the front, though. It is going to be Starla Tedder Green taking down 5 points. Leah Thorvaldsen for 3 points. Leah Dixon that did take third in the sprint there for that All-Stars. Off the front, we see here now using that sprint to catapult this attack. Sharon Bird, also an All-Star there with the 4th place for 1 point. We'll have to wait and see how the sprint overall played out between those 3 sprints out on course for that competition in just a moment. Live on site there's Leah Dixon in the upper right-hand corner. There's the sprint points, though, for that competition. It will be Starla Tedder Green there with 13 points. Leah Thorvaldsen taking second there, it looks like, with 11. Erica Devinger with third, 2, and Whitney Allison with 2, and Leah Dixon with 2 there as well for 5th. So solid result there for Tedder Green, Starla Tedder Green, HB Superman getting that sprint points.
Yeah, she's definitely dominated those sprints, hasn't she? Yeah, fantastic for HB Superman. But great attack by Leah Dixon then. Just to put everyone up, under pressure there. Put the riders under pressure. It's lined out and she got a 2-second gap, but they knew immediately that they had to chase her down. So all back together now. But I think great to put Britt Mason under pressure. Put her under pressure for the win.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of attack there. I don't think we were going to see Britt Mason obviously in the competition for the sprint points and has been sitting in most of the time. Leah Dixon putting out a lot more average power throughout the race so far, really being an instigator so far. Making her way to the front momentarily again as they do take this right-hand turn on to Ocean Boulevard, but now it is going to be Wilkinson now on the front. It's been very calm up until this point, but I think this is where the fireworks are going to start going off. Anybody that does not have an interest in the final sprint will start throwing down whatever they can to try and get away in these final few kilometers now. But there's also the out of needing to lead out, needing somebody to close gaps if there are any attacks up to this point. So we'll have to wait and see what the teams do have planned. A quick little mention, though, it was Amanda Coker from Show Air 2020 that did close that gap down to the All-Stars, and I do think they do have a plan to shut down anything that they possibly can today.
Yeah, definitely, and I think they really want to make their second place overall solid, and they want to be able to keep it, and if not, get all the riders up there in the front at the finish today to try and take the overall team standings. Whether they can do that, I don't know, but they've got to try. As soon as someone attacks, they've got to try it. But yeah, we've got Shayna Powless here for Show Air 2020 in-house here. Now, we've not actually had a winner from either the women's or men's KISS Super League, winner from a live event. Will this be the first event that we see a winner in-house?
Well, without, there's been a lot of favorites we've been talking about so far. Now, there just might be a little bit of extra energy on site here. Obviously, Leah Dixon is one that we've been talking about here. Maybe we'll get a little bit of an upset from amongst the riders here. Obviously, Britt Mason not being on site here that we've been talking about this entire time. It does look like they're working a lot for some of the riders who maybe aren't on site, but it'd be interesting if we can see something like that thrown down. There's a lot of calm faces still here, though, at this point, and everybody who I believe is in-house is still involved in the race at the front still. So we'll have to wait and see how this ends up playing out. Now, as far as the overall team standings go right now, I do not believe that there's too much availability for the riders to have too much of a switch up. Zwift Academy Dream Team and Show Air 2020 with a little bit of a battle between them. They could see a change up there for second and third. So Show Air 2020 and actually Zwift Academy Dream Team, there is a battle to be had here. And if Show Air can put like a 1-2-3 situation, they could definitely solidify, or the Zwift Academy Dream Team, on the other hand, though, they could jump up over the top of Show Air 2020 perhaps with a solid result, but that would have to be a serious podium sweep. They might have the talent to make it happen, though.
Yeah, I think they do, and I think all three teams are stacked with talent. So it's just such fierce competition, and everyone's going to be wanting to take the win today. And also, they'll be telling their other riders, just because I'm going to take the win, make sure you don't ease up at the finish. Make sure you don't, start freewheeling or whatever. Make sure you sprint all the way to the finish line to be able to take as many top positions in the top 10 especially as possible. So, it's not just about the person who wins today, it's about all four riders making sure they get up there and just to solidify those team results.
Yeah, definitely. And we do have all four riders from Show Air 2020 still involved at the front end of this group, of this pack right now in the peloton. Zwift All-Stars also having all four here as well. Zwift Academy still with all four riders involved there. So Emily Slavin from the All-Stars still here. We've got Sharon Bird from the All-Stars. We've also got Leah Dixon obviously on site here, and Britt Mason, all from the All-Stars, still involved in this pack. Zwift Academy Dream Team still riding here with Natalie Eklund here. They've got Catherine Colin is still here with them, and I believe Mary Wilkinson is still intact here, as well as Leah Thorvaldsen. So from the community teams, all of them still there, but Show Air 2020 with four riders still there. That is the top three still in the competition, in the series right now, in the final, coming into the final kilometers right now. All 12 of these riders going to be battling it out for podium spots to hold on to those spots overall.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it's worth noting, Mary Wilkinson's been very, very quiet. We've not seen a peep from her all race.
Yeah, that's not like Mary.
That's not like Mary.
Totally out of character.
Yeah.
They don't call her Scary Mary for no reason, right? I mean, she usually puts the hurt on, and I have a feeling that after that use of that, so at the British Championship finals, there was an almost like accidental power-up in that final few K. It might have been the situation, a tactical move, and I think today she's like, no mistakes. No mistakes. I'm in this for the win. Let's see if I can throw it down and get that goal.
Yeah, there's no room for mistakes, and she hasn't taken a win in this series. She's had a few second places and podium places, and she's been up there in almost every single round, but she's really searching for that win. And then she came second at the British Cycling Nationals, and it's kind of like, when am I going to get that win? So yeah, keeping her powder dry and kind of learning week upon week of her mistakes, I think, and trying something new by making sure she doesn't use any energy, and she just sits in and takes the draft.
She is the rider who just kind of puts the hurt onto the other riders, I think. And, coming from a running background and into cycling only fairly recently, amazing results so far, jumping into the cycling world, obviously now racing with pros out on Zwift. Also, that obviously speaks to the reality of talent identification, what that Zwift Academy is all about, actually, and how you can find new talent out there in the world of Zwift. Now we have women's racing being highlighted in an amazing way here in this final event now. But now toward the front here, Amanda Coker here, Allison now making her way to the front here. It will be Britt Mason now starting to peek toward the front here. All three of the Zwift All-Stars here, and they're going to be looking to sweep the podium. We'll see if they're going to have any sweeps from the teams here in just a moment as we head into the final Ks.
Yeah, we've only got a few kilometers to go, and it's the Showa 2020 Zwift Academy Dream Team and the All-Stars all at the front here, pushing themselves up. We're just following Clevenger here from 2020. She's just trying to get in there, get in the pack, and Sanguinetti, who's also here in-house from Valcar Silence, moving up to the front, looking very, very calm. You can just see her in the top of your screen in the pink and blue kit.
Yeah, interesting to see also another rider who hasn't had a whole lot of sticking her nose in the wind. So it's been so quiet at this point. And I think part of that, I did see a little bit of the chat there in the live stream saying the pressure is on. There is a reality when there's a lot of pressure in a final race like this on a flat course, you're going to play the tactic perfectly. You're going to do what you need to do to win on the day. And that's what I think it really is all about for these riders here. Why we haven't seen a whole lot of risk taking at this point.
For sure, people just want to win. That is the point of it. In a race, they want to win. They're going to do the best to win. And, they're just not going to take any risks when they know it's, coming into the final kilometers now. They want to take the victory. They're so close, they can almost touch it and breathe it.
We do see an attack here now as we do head into the final K now. It is going to be Clevenger toward the front there from Showa 2020. But no, the Zwift Academy Dream Team now taking over. Leah Dixon's up and out of the saddle, though, trying to close that down here. Sharon Bird here now doing the work there for the All-Stars. Britt Mason now making her way toward the front as well, trying to close this gap. Now, this is what we were talking about, though. Mary Wilkinson with the gap. Who will do the work? Is there a willing rider there from one of these teams to shut this down? But Mary Wilkinson is throwing down 7.3 watts per kilogram, 180 beats per minute, 400 watts steady here from Mary Wilkinson now, trying to make this a drag race to the finish with an aero power up even. She has gone all in at this point, used all of her resources, it looks like, to hang on to this gap, but the gap has been shut down by Show Air now. Valcar Silence trying to come across now. Paula's on site here now, within the top four still. Amazing here. The riders who are on site, extra motivation. The house is starting to go off here, and the entire crowd is cheering these riders on, and there's a split in the gap. This is not going to be your regular sprint to the line here, as Mary Wilkinson has made this an absolute sufferfest and drag race here. Sanguinetti now closes it down. It looks like it's going to be Clevenger now hanging on, trying to shut it down, though. It's going to be Dixon here off the back now. Can it be shut down? Britt Mason now trying to come through. It's a 2-second gap. Britt Mason now 9 watts per kilogram. Here comes your sprinters now. Aero powers being thrown. Is there enough landscape to close it down? Leah Dixon coming through with 8 watts per kilogram, but it's going to be Wilkinson still leading it up. But here comes the All-Stars. Dixon to the line. Dixon looks like she's going to do it. First time ever in these live events for the KISS Super League with a rider on site winning it. Leah Dixon takes the W.
Wow, that was fantastic. Absolute time to perfection. You can just hear all the fans here in the museum cheering, and wow, that was absolutely fantastic. I didn't know where it was going to go. Was Mary Wilkinson going to hang on? Show Air 2020, we're closing it down. Sanguinetti in-house was coming in thick and fast, and I thought she was going to take the victory, but Dixon, absolute time to perfection for the All-Stars. Brilliant.
Yeah, Leah Dixon, perfectly timed attack there to the line. It looked like all the All-Stars actually were set up fairly well. Mary Wilkinson really tried to make something happen of a drag race, maybe not as confident in her sprint to the line, using that aero power up for almost a lead out for the rest of the pack. I don't think that was the intention at all to be a lead out, but what ended up happening is she got a gap, and it was like, at this point, I'm all in. I just have to go. I've burned my match, and it looked like she had put enough pressure and enough gap between the other riders that she said, look, I just have to throw my power up down at this point because there is no recovery in this short of period of time. Yeah, you just got to use your power up. Make use of the advantage, and that's what she did. And I think the whole team rode absolutely fantastically throughout the whole race, and yeah,
brilliant that she can now equal Britt Mason's 2 wins in the series. She now gets her own 2 wins.
Now
we
we
just
are
see a
seeing
replay
here,
now.
Yeah, the replay here now is Mary Wilkinson. We were talking about with that attack up and out of the Ocean Boulevard underwater tunnel, that drag race to the line. We talked about that. Would it be a drag race to the line? Could a rider break way up and over the top? Mary Wilkinson tried to make that a reality, was hoping to do so, but obviously here, the perfect setup with the perfect timing. Watch the All-Stars come from way behind here, that situation where you're sitting in the peloton waiting for that pounce, and perfectly timed there from Dixon, as well as it looks like another All-Star just behind her. It is going to be Britt Mason, the hardcore sprinter, but Dixon here showing us that she can sprint live on site here. What an amazing result for the All-Stars. First and second place across the line here. Let's go ahead and have a chat, though, with our race winner on the ground here with Matt Stevens.
Thanks very much indeed, Nathan. Well, for the first time in venue, we have a winner in the form of Leah Dixon. What an amazing victory. 2 wins out of 2. Only 2 riders have managed to do that, but you had to work so hard. You attacked early on because you weren't trusting your sprint. Then Mary Wilkinson went long. You must have fought so deep to get back on terms and then deliver a knockout punch at the end.
Yeah, it was a really good race. It was really hard. I knew it wasn't to my strengths, so I had to try and play it tactically. So I attacked a bit early to try and see who had legs. And then when Mary went long, I was like, I really don't think I can go with this. And I was just quite lucky that I just managed to hold on that little bit longer. Like, really pleased. Wasn't expecting that at all.
Because it really, I mean, Mary, she normally has to go along as well. She's not a true sprinter, but she went with about 1,500 metres, and it looked to be so hard. I mean, everybody was fighting deep just to stay on contact.
Yeah, she's so strong. I was at the back of the group, so I got taken totally by surprise. So it was really hard to just get in contact with the lead group, let alone get past them.
So what does it mean to win in Flanders, in the Tour of Flanders Museum, and also back-to-back wins and the last winner of the series? Well, you must be super happy with how things have gone for you.
Yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. The girls on the All-Stars team have been great. Rachel's been absolutely brilliant. It's just been a really great series.
Wonderful stuff. Well, Rebecca, back to you.
Thank you, Matt. Well, it's definitely heated up a lot in the museum here. Something that really fascinates me, though, is when we actually are in the room, as the riders are, we can see the difference in pedalling style, different reactions, and everything that happens when the sprint plays out. I mean, not everyone gets to see that on the screen.
Yeah, it's seeing it in person is something else. I mean, there is like a true hard effort that goes into this, and you know, when you're just watching the avatars on the screen, you're not seeing the expressions on their faces. And the great thing about this is they're not wearing helmets. You can see the women up close and personal and see the massive efforts that they're putting out to get to the line.
How nervous were you through that?
I get nervous at all races, and I do a little self-talk, and I'm like, they're at home on their trainers, they're all good, they're safe, but it's still, you know, it's exciting. I mean, your adrenaline gets going, and you're watching the athletes on the screen, and now here in person, it's really exciting.
Well, I think we have Matt just behind us with Sanguinetti. Here he is now.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Rebecca. I am here with Ilaria Sanguinetti. I must say, I was watching you during the race. You look very calm. You look to be in a really good place. You look very strong.
Yeah, I hope to stay all the race in the bunch, to stay easy with my legs because I have to Flanders 2 days ago, so my legs not so good. But every time it's funny. It was so hard the final, but I'm really happy with my top 10.
Well done, and congratulations, especially off the back of Flanders, and doing it here at the Flanders Museum as well. Back to you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Matt. Well, as you can see, the excitement high. We're just running around the room trying to get that post-race reaction from everybody. But let's have a little summary of how you think the overall series has gone. Of course, the inaugural one, and it's just been thrilling all along.
It has. I mean, we're really honoured that we were asked to do it, and it's just been a fantastic opportunity for us, and the athletes are embracing it, and myself and our team director, who's not here, we're just embracing the whole platform, and I know there's going to be good things in the future. It's exciting.
And we were talking earlier, weren't we, about how much learning goes on with the tactical approaches. Yeah. But what was the original reaction of the team when you said to the riders, right, you're going to be doing an entire race series on the platform?
Yeah, they were a little skeptical. They all, of course, agreed, and then I convinced them, and everybody did their research, and we came in swinging, and we won a couple of races, and I think the community teams were really surprised at that.
Well, Matt joins us now. I mean, I know we've both been running around here trying to chat to the riders after that. I mean, it was thrilling.
It was great. It was a really tactical race, wasn't it? But you could just tell into lap 2 that the kind of pace was really starting to tell. And I was chatting to Elia Sanguinetti at the end, and she's come here. She's at the home of cycling in Flanders. She went the Tour of Flanders a couple of days ago, but what a battle at the end. We know Mary Wilkinson would have to go long. Attacks from about 1,500 metres out. That was the most drawn-out sprint I've ever seen. But what an amazing victory by Leah Dixon. And what a place to do it. Back-to-back wins. And the only win we've had when we've been on site as well. What a wonderful end to a spectacular series.
And I thought she looked rather fresh, actually, when you were chatting to her then.
She did. She kind of warmed down pretty quickly. And, of course, she did that big attack with about 5Ks to go, recovered from that, and then went on to win as well. Fantastic stuff. I think we've got the result coming up.
Well, yes, let's get confirmation of that result now.
And it looks like we do have the results up. Leah Dixon there, it looks like, with the win, obviously, solid result. Back-to-back wins, as Matt was just saying. Britt Mason there from the All-Stars there, second place there. Sharon Bird in third. A sweep for the Zwift All-Stars. Then it will be Shower 2020 in fourth place there. Merrick Wilkinson for the Zwift Academy Dream Team in fifth. Natalie Ekton, also Zwift Academy Dream Team. Live on site here, Julie Leth there in seventh place there. Amanda Coker there, eighth place. Ilaria Sanguinetti there, ninth, and Melanie Wong for 10th. The gaps, though, look at them there. That's actually very telling about what kind of a quote-unquote bunch sprint that did not happen that we thought might happen.
Yeah, I mean, our predictions were completely wrong, Nathan. We thought it was going to be, a real bunch sprint, and it just wasn't. With Mary Wilkinson putting the hammer down with 1,500 meters to go and really drawing everyone out and kind of taking everyone by surprise. It, put everyone under pressure, and they had to go, drawn out.
Yeah, it definitely shows what one rider can do to a pack and to a sprint there with that kind of effort from Mary Wilkinson. So that'll be it from us here. Let's head on over to the floor with Brecca and Matt.
Well, Matt, I know that every round of the series has been hard fought, but there was an essence tonight, a difference. It felt like a grand finale.
Yeah, it did, especially here, being on the ground, the Tour of Flanders just a couple of days ago, it shows that e-racing can stand side by side with traditional racing as well. But no, the racing has just got better and better and better, and the professional riders especially have really adapted to this kind of style of racing, and therefore the racing gets even more exciting, even more tactical, but also equally as brutal as well. That finale, these girls were on the absolute ropes, but what an advert for women's esports. I mean, this is only just the beginning. Exciting stuff.
Well, with that, let's take a look at confirmation of those final team standings with Nathan.
Well, and that looks like, obviously, the All-Stars taking down the first spot there, 343 points. A little bit of a change up there for Shower 2020 there. Still in second place, still gaining a couple more points with 257. Third place in the series now is Zwift Academy, is solid there with the bronze with 200 points. Fourth place goes to Hagens Berman Supermint. Fifth going to Canyon Schramm. Sixth place is going to be Biglet Cervelo Pro Cycling. Seventh place with Docini Van Eyck. Valcar Silence in eighth, and ninth place going to WNT Rotor. And that after the final race here, amazing results there for the community teams, and Shower 2020 sneaking into second place there.
Yeah, it's been fantastic, and the All-Stars really dominated tonight. But fantastic racing by Shower 2020.
Yeah, and we've talked about this has been a theme throughout the entirety of the series, both the men's and the women's. The reality of the genre of this new esport, this new genre of cycling here, the mixing, the meeting of these two worlds, actually. Really interesting to see how that sport is playing out, because the community teams, and there has been some questions, of racing virtually versus racing here live, or what they call LAN in the esports world, that, are these community teams actually showing up and doing what's real? Is this real? And Leah Dixon here now showing, yes, there is a cycling genre that is called Zwifty, that is an esport. Yeah,
it's just fantastic. And, it's almost a different discipline in its own right, esports racing. But Leah Dixon, so strong. She's strong. She was, second the other day in real life race on Sunday. And then, she's taking the win tonight on the final round of the Zwift KISS Super League. So I think it's fantastic. And but the community teams, brilliant.
Yeah, and as we can see, All-Stars and the community team and Showair 2020, congratulations to them on their podiums, and big congratulations to the All-Stars taking that win in the series. That's going to be it from us here in Belgium, and as always, everybody out there in Zwiftland and all the viewers, ride on.
Well, that really was an absolutely fascinating last few hundred metres. Mary Wilkinson went so long. She'd look as if at one point she had broken the elastic, and with it the will of the other riders, but the will of Leah Dixon was not to be beaten. She crossed the line for a superb win. Wonderful stuff.
Oh, it was just absolutely thrilling, wasn't it? And something I want to ask you as a final thought really is, when we started this league, you know, in both the men's and the women's, some of the riders said we don't know what to expect. E-racing, a whole series, you know, what's to come. But everyone's utterly convinced. From your point of view, where can e-racing go? What's next?
I think there's a lot of exciting plans ahead. This is just a taster. I mean, this has been wonderful. Each race has got better and better, both the men's and women's. Of course, we had the British National Championships. This is just the beginning. And if you've just joined us and this is your first taste of e-racing, you can see all of the Zwift men's races and women's races on the KISS Super League on our YouTube channel. Get back and watch those. But for me and Rebecca right now, is thanks very much for joining us, and hopefully see you very soon.
Thanks for joining us from everyone here, as Matt says, in Oudenaarde. Until next time, bye for now.